It is the 28th of July 2022. This is my Lectric XP LITE e-bike. I've had it just a little over 2 weeks, and right now it's at 235 miles. Everything's going pretty good with it so far, and I thought I'd show you how the bike is configured at the present time and some of the changes I've made. First thing I did right out of the box, I hadn't ridden it at all, is I changed out the mechanical disc brakes for hydraulic disc brakes, both front and rear. I've had experience with the mechanical disc brakes on other e-bikes. I'm not impressed. Adjusting is a real hassle. These just work great. I have had no problem at all, no squeaking, no scratching, extremely powerful. I love them. Second thing I did right out of the box was I put on a Zoom seat post and a Cloud 9 seat. I'm simply too old to take the pounding anymore. On the back, I purchased a regular bicycle rack for the back of the bike. Now this took quite a bit of modification to get to mount it on the LITE, but I like it. It doesn't weigh much. It is sturdy. It does everything I want. And I came up with a unique mounting system for a cooler, and I'll show you that at the end. While I'm here at the rack, I put on a warning light, brake light. Battery life is phenomenal. It works really good. I like that. And the brake light does work. I've had other people tell me it works. I installed a bell. I like that. Got a nice tone to it. Tires and fenders. I used the knobby tires that were supplied on the bike for about 180 miles. In my opinion, they just consume a lot of power. I had them inflated to the recommended pressure. They just used a lot of power. They were noisy, and they were noticeably out of round. Now I checked the trueness of the wheel. The wheel was fine. It was almost perfect, but I could never get the tires where they would be smooth going down a highway. It always seemed like you were on a ellipse with high and low points, and it was quite noticeable. So I decided to change the tires and tubes, and I went with an Eclaw Mirage tire. What I did was I went out on YouTube, watched a bunch of kids on their BMX bikes to see what they're using, and this seemed to be a favorite of theirs, and they just beat the daylights out of their bikes. So I'm 71, and I figure there's no way I could ever do what they're doing to their bikes. What I've noticed going down a highway, that the current that the bike is using is 1 to 2 amps less than with the knobby tires. The longest trip I've had so far on this now is 26 miles with these tires. Before, 20 miles was asking a lot. So I'm very pleased with the tires. And I added flat out to the new tubes, only because it seems to be rated better than slime. The flat out is rated for one application, never dries out, whereas the slime, I guess, dries up in a couple of years. In addition to the flat out sealant, I also installed the Mr. Tuffy bicycle tire liners, just as added protection from punctures and flat tires. These are just plastic fenders, but they're really light. Yes, they took some effort to get them mounted on the bike. I had to do a little custom bending on these rods. And on the back, it was even more challenging. I had to get around these calipers in the rear. But you can see it is possible. This is what the other side looks like. So all in all, I'm really pleased with these fenders. Now I don't know how well they would work with the tires that were supplied on the bike. I'm really pleased with them. I didn't know if I'd like them or not. And one comment I read, and I really didn't think about it, is without a front fender, all the grit and grime and water and dirt that's slung up off the tire heads right for that key. I mean, Lectric hasn't had a bike out without fenders for very long, so I don't know if that's going to be an issue for them. I can turn that off. After I read that comment, I went with the fenders, and I'm glad I did. It just keeps all the grime and whatever you run into off the key switch. Something else I have here is for my canine friends. I have a real problem with people letting their dogs run, and that's pepper spray. I haven't used it yet. Come close. Being in a dead heat with a German Shepherd is no fun. I have mentioned it before. There's my DIY stand I made for the bike. I just like it. It's very easy to use. I can move the bike around with it still on the stand. It just works well. I can fold the bike up with it on the stand. Take the battery out. It's just convenient. As you can see, I have a helmet I got off Amazon. And for gloves, and I do wear gloves, I got these from Harbor Freight. I like them. They're inexpensive. They do what I want. If I fall, these take the hit first. So there's my insulated bag. I have all my tools. There's a first aid kit held securely. I've had no problems with it coming off. And I made a custom mount for it to go on the bike. And to take it off, I just made a skewer on the side here. I pull the skewer out, and the bag simply lifts off. Just bits and pieces of plastic that I had, and it just works well. Inexpensive. And there's a skewer that I made, and it locks, this hook here locks up on the rack. There you go. Those are the changes and modifications I've made to the XP LITE over the past 2 weeks. Maybe that'll inspire you to make some improvements to your bike. Thanks again for taking the time to watch the video, and have a nice day.